Yeah, I'm Joe Mulliken, and this is Life Mentored, a podcast where we dispel that myth that our stories don't matter, that if we don't have the most grandiose or we're not famous, because everybody's story matters. Because if everybody's story matters, then it means our story matters, and if our story matters, then that means everybody else's does too. And today, I'm excited for you to hear from one of my friends, from Dan Stecken. He's a superintendent in a town here in northern Illinois, and I love the work that he does around, one, leadership, but two, just his desire to build that same climate, that same culture, that same community of abundance for leaders that, we all struggle at times. All the things we're working on, we all have ways that we want to continue to grow. And I'm excited for you to hear from him and talk about how he got to the Stress Leaders Conference that he puts on now, and the work that he went through, kind of the thing that got him to where he is. And I think one of the things that I love in this, and it's a theme that continues to come, is that when we invest in ourselves and when we invest in who we are, everything else kind of falls into place a little bit easier. It doesn't mean that life gets easier. Hard is hard. Life's hard. It stays hard. But we have the opportunities to have life be a little bit less. Like Carol Lawson, the Duke women's basketball coach, says, easy bus never comes. We just learn how to do hard better. And so I'm excited for you to listen to Dan. Excited for you to hear his story and his heart, and hopefully you'll feel a little bit less alone, something that you resonate with, something that you hear that is an aha. But someone I respect incredibly highly, and I can't wait for you to spend this time with them. As always, we'd love for you to subscribe, love for you to share this out, not because we want listens or followers, but because my goal is just that we help people and create a community where people feel a little bit less alone, a little more like they belong in their skin, authentically as themselves. I'm Joe Mulliken. This is Life Mentored. I hope you enjoy this episode today with Dan Stecken. Dan, if you could, just tell people and share just a little bit about, who you are, what you do, a little bit about your background.
Absolutely.
And then we'll kind of jump into your story and listen to that.
Yeah. So, I mean, Joe, really the I guess the big tagline that I try to talk about sometimes is, when was the last time that you did something for the first time? A guy told me that a while ago, and it kind of shook me to my core. You get stuck in this minutia and monotony of every day, the same things. And, I faced a personal health issue. I had a kind of a heart scare about 6 years ago, and it made me sort of reevaluate, just where I was in life. I was a dedicated championship head coach. Coaching was everything to me. I let that coaching get ahead of my personal health. Sometimes it impacted my relationship with my wife and my own kids. And it was always, I always treated that every day with a smile and a heart and a great work ethic. But I realized that whether it was, call myself a recovering head coach or even administration, then eventually being a superintendent, that I was always putting myself last. And I wanted to challenge myself to do something difficult. So I kind of started this personal journey to really challenge myself and do hard things. Um, Doing something hard for the first time, one of the things I did was I did the Manitou Incline. I literally landed at the Colorado Springs airport, got the rental car and drove 20 minutes and just went. And I had no idea how hard that was going to be, but I told myself I was not going to fail. That event, while isolated and simple for some people, was a mental war with myself. And so, there's a lot of stories, there's a lot of events, but challenging yourself every single day and getting in the hard thing is about kind of like who I am. Um, and it's not always physical. Last week at work, I had a couple tough conversations with a couple employees that you nobody likes discomfort. Nobody wants that. But sometimes you gotta get dirty and get in that hard thing and just do it. So, yeah, so, when I started the superintendency about 5 years ago, I had some good guys reach out to me just with some personal crisis and some professional issues, and the more I got into it, the more I realized that I was going through some of the same things other people were, but I was too tough. I used to say I was too blessed to be stressed, and I would keep all that buried inside here, man. It would be like a pride thing, like an ego. Like I was afraid to tell people that, dude, I am stressed. I got a lot going on. So stress leaders came from just kind of my own personal life, but then talking to people that were going through the same mess that I was going through and just burying myself in that mess and having nobody to talk to. I mean, seriously, Joe, who can you look at in your district and say, "Hey, I know you've been a superintendent. How would you handle this?" There's nobody. There's nobody to lean on, no one to
Right.
talk to. And I've always been a go-getter. I've always been all gas, no brakes. I'm gonna red line this thing as hard as I can, and I'm gonna kill you with a smile, but I'm gonna bury you with my work ethic. Like, you're not gonna see me lose. And I do believe those things, but at the same time, there's only so many irons you can have in that fire and do everything to the level of exception that I want. So I had to kinda slow down and take all this in and realize that, dude, I'm struggling. I'm struggling, I'm hurting, and I'm trying to do these things great, but there's only so much time in the day, and that's kinda where stress leaders came from, and it's grown to be something I never really imagined, but it's become a key part of my life.
Yeah, and it's I'm super excited. I get to come hang out with you this year at Stress Leaders um and do some stuff. I'll never forget. I know we both know Herschel Hanna, but I'll never forget being in a workshop with him, and he was talking about you know taking care of yourself and all that. And of course, I'm like a first or second year principal back when he's talking, and I kind of did the like math, like I always come last, and then those that listen to my episode, we hear obviously my health stuff that I've gone through, and it's one of those things that we got to put ourselves first, but it's hard, right? Is a as a leader, but how do you think you've made that shift as a leader to be able to transition from, you know, putting all the other stuff ahead still of you?
Yeah, it's tough, and it's such a delicate balance, isn't it? Because you said it well, Joe. You always put yourself last when you're a servant leader, right? You always go last. And for years and years, I did that as a head coach, as a teacher, and then when I got into administration, I almost doubled down on it. And I told you I had a health scare, I had a heart issue that I got taken care of. Um, but really it was watching my own kids do the same bad habits that I have. Like, "Hey, let's go hit up Casey's for a piece of pizza and a fountain Mountain Dew." It's, "Hey, I just got a good run in. I earned this fried chicken." It was, "I don't have time to work out today because I slept in and watched some Netflix, but I'll take you to the diamond, hit some ground balls and stuff." And it was kind of this like, "What are you doing to yourself?" And I laugh because you go to PD events and you hear these things, and I always hated PDs where you just sit there for like 4 hours and listen to somebody talk, and the Stress Leaders Retreat is an anti-conference conference. You're moving, you're doing stuff, you're interacting, you're talking about pain points, but then you're going out and doing it too. But how did I get there? Man, it's not fun, but it's 5 AM. I mean, I start almost every single day 5 AM in the gym. And what I have discovered, just this is just Dan Stecken, but what I've discovered is when I hit that 5 AM, even if it's a check down, even if it's 20 minutes on the treadmill just walking, my whole day is better. I mean, I've set myself up for success. And then the second thing I do after I go home and shower and see my wife and kids and get off to work, I don't do any work when I first get to work. I do one of two things. I either write intentionally at my desk with my door closed, nobody's bothering me, or I go find someone to talk to. Anybody in my building that's around. A lot of times it's my maintenance director. And I just talk, and we don't talk about work. We talk about a baseball game. We talk about my kids. We talk about his life, his wife. Um, but you know what's funny? I had this issue where I was talking to a couple teachers, and I was like, you've done this for longer than I've been in education. I don't come around you as much because I respect what you do and I just want to let you thrive. And one of them said to me, well, I wish you'd check in more. And so it's that delicate balance of like, I got to take care of myself and do my thing. And my thing is a workout and it's writing. Writing's become such an outlet for me to just decompress and kind of slow down. And the second chapter of my book that's coming out is stress leaders have to go first. You have to take care of yourself or you're going to fail. If you're not taking care of yourself, you're going to be such a terrible leader. But it's that awkward balance of like finding time for myself, but still trying to lead at the level I've always led at to be exceptional, to manage projects, strategically plan, to hit deadlines or board reports, relationships with everybody in the building, finding 1 minute to go talk to that kid that needs you to talk to them is so hard. And there's never enough time in the day. And there's some days I look at the end of the day and I'm like, man, today was like a C minus. But my C minus is today is so much better than it was 5 years ago. And honestly, 5 years ago, what I thought was an A, I would consider it to be a failure today. So I guess it's about improvement. It's just I don't know. It's hard to put into words, but it's that delicate balance of taking care of myself, taking care of others, and trying to lead everything effectively. I'm blessed that I've got a good team around me and I can delegate some things, but I know that there's many leaders out there that are not as blessed as I am and cannot do that. When you can trust your people to lead and do great things and you don't have to micromanage them, man, that makes everything so much easier. So I mean, I'm blessed that I can handle that delicate balance and do well.
I think it's, I think you talked about, the fact that, getting to people and talking to them and doing that. And I think regardless of whether you're in education or any other industry, right? Like, when you're in a leadership position, like when you get to work, like there's just stuff you got to do, right? And, I think that we, universally have trouble understanding the difference between productivity and busyness. And I also think we don't all part of that's because we don't know what the metric is for success for us for the day, right? Or what does a good day look like or what does. And I was smiling when you were talking about, going in and like some days it's yeah, like man, I don't know that anybody that's, in leadership and education or in leadership probably writ large or a position like that really walks into work with a checklist of stuff that they got to get done for the day and walks out with that checklist done and nothing else. We I can't remember, teaching now and doing stuff now. I kind of chuckle because there's things where I'm like, I did everything.
Yeah. Yeah, you walk
Like there's not this new like, random thing. And like, I think, there's so many other aspects, right? Like the political stuff, the managing the balance of, stakeholders and everything that goes on with that. And, I think it's hard to put it lightly that, you talk about, your health scare and you talk about, working out and doing that. And, everybody finds kind of their own brand of what that looks like and doing it. But like, what how do you feel like, for anybody that's out there that's kind of listening to, that's a leader that kind of says like, man, like body keeps breaking down or this. Like for me, it's, I know what it is, but
Mm.
why, what do you think the impact has been just mentally and emotionally for you as a result of investing in yourself physically and as well?
Well, there's two words that I guess got me off the bench, and it was just start. Forever, Dan Cox talks a lot about when he started, it was a 5-minute walk. And for me, I never really wanted to go run 100 miles in the woods. That isn't me. But I did want to get stronger. And my goal, I have the same goal all the time, and it's stupid. I just want to look good with my shirt off. I spend a lot of time at the beach and a lot of time on a boat. I haven't been confident with my shirt off since I was about 20 years old. I just want to look good with my shirt off. And it sounds cheesy. It sounds like, I'm 44 years old. Why does that even matter? Well, it's a smaller micro goal of like life. I need to be healthy for my wife and kids. I need to be healthy for the stress of this job. I mean, you just said it, Joe. I walk in my office every morning and it's like go time and I just want to write and people are waiting for me and I'm one of the first ones here. I feel like I'm Patrick Mahomes in the 2-minute drill trying to win the Super Bowl. And most of the time, the game, it's not even my problem. It's not something that's important to me, but those people's problems are a crisis right now. And so, again, I talk about that awkward and delicate balance. Man, it's so hard, but like, if you don't take care of yourself, you can't help people take care of themselves. I can't be a good dad for my kids. I can't be, I've got a husband of the year trophy on on my mantle. I got to keep winning that thing. And I fail a lot. And you talked about being, teaching. It's hard to look back 10 years ago when I was teaching and think to myself like, were those they weren't easy days, because being the sage on the
Mm.
stage, I mean, that's not easy, and I miss some of those days for sure, um, but man, I love the impact that I can make from my desk now, and I love the impact that I can make with the decisions I make, but let's be honest, Joe, some of those decisions have so many ripple effects that I don't even imagine. Like, when I make a decision and somebody else sees it down the hall in a different building, and I'm like, "That wasn't the intention at all." But that's the reality, and it might sound, like, masochistic, but I kinda like that. I kinda like that there's always a not firefighting, but there's always something. There's always something to do,
Yeah.
and maybe it's the way my personality and my brain works, but, um I do love I feel like you're always I always say in leadership, it's about pressure, how you handle pressure. It's about time. How can you manage your time effectively? And then it's all the other stuff. Like, let's be honest, Joe, the political side of what we do. Oh my goodness. All those stakeholders you talked about. I got an angry parent that calls me up and I gotta smile through that conversation when I know that I'm taking care of myself and I'm making myself physically and mentally stronger. And I just want to tell that parent, stop being a snowplow. It's okay for your kid to fail. It's okay for your kid to struggle. So that
Right.
pressure, that time, and then navigating all those muddy, murky waters. I actually like all that stuff though. I may not feel that way 10 years from now, but right now I do, and I think it's because I've made an intentional effort to take care of myself. I don't know if 5 years ago I could have done this.
Do you think so? You talk about the health scare, and again, 5 years ago, and some of that stuff. Like, was your enjoyment the same with some of those things back then as it is now, or
Not at
like
all.
especially when you hit the right because I think like the cool thing is Kathy's episode that came out and hers she talks about being in a classroom for 30 years and same grade level, same building. Um, how rare is that we have, teacher in the same building, same grade level, that never gets to that point of like compassion fatigue. She talks about her faith, and that kind of being a thing that drives, and her taking care and, managing and nurturing that. Um, but yeah, like just thinking comparatively, like where you were at in the enjoyment level versus where you are now in the enjoyment level of hard, um, and what the impact is of that journey that you've taken. Because I think that's right. That's where a lot of people end up. Right? Is you talked about just start, and that's I know, we both know this probably intimately well. Just start, we go. But a month in, when your body and your mind and everything else is screaming, just stop.
Mm.
Like how did you kind of navigate that part? And then, where what's what's that done now to help support, kind of where you're at?
Yeah, that's great, Joe. I taught here at Seneca High School for 13 years, and I was the head softball coach for 14 years. And um, I would say that I'm one of those people that I've let my job become my identity for my life, my career. And I'm very blessed that I've got an ultra loyal, supportive wife who just goes along with the flow and rides with me. And my kids have grown up in this school. My kids are both diehard. One loves softball, one loves basketball. Um, but I looked around our building, and I always say Seneca's Mars. People don't know this planet until they come to it, because we're so blessed. We've got great resources. Our culture is amazing. Our people are amazing. Our kids are amazing. I mean, we got problems just like anywhere else, but I looked around at one of my mentors that I grew up with, and he was in year probably about 29, 30 at that time. And I said to myself, I don't know if I can be in front of that classroom for 35 years like he's going to be. And then I looked today at one of our English teachers who's a good friend and somebody that I really respect. And he's done this for like 31 years at Seneca. And that dude is still energy all day, every day. And I really respect that. When it comes to my hard, when I took the leap to get into administration, it's amazing as you like reflect back on it. Like, Joe, what you're asking me right now, it's pretty powerful to look back at that and say what I used to think was hard and what I see as hard now. That's an interesting comparison, because in that classroom, and we're a block schedule, so an 80-minute class, I mean, I was all over the place. I never just lectured and gave homework. I was doing group projects and, think, pair, shares, and let's get you outside and let's go do stuff. And kids loved me teaching. I was a great softball coach. I remember my buddy, he said to me, he's like, "What the hell are you doing? You've built this thing into like a state championship program and you're just going to walk away from it?" And I said, there was two reasons. I said, one was I felt like even though I hadn't won a state championship, that wasn't like why I coached. I just liked the kids. And we got better and better as a product of all of our work ethic and striving for excellence. But I wanted someone else to coach my own kid. My daughter's favorite sport, softball. She's very good, but I wanted somebody else to coach her, and because I was also coaching her travel team. But I said I just needed a new challenge. I'm not somebody that just kind of just I can't just keep doing the same thing every day. And as superintendent, that's the project management. I got new things every single day. I mean, I'm doing things right now that if you asked me 5 years ago as superintendent, I mean, I'm doing insane things. I'm doing a subdivision development in my town to try to save the future of our school because our enrollment is going down in a very scary fashion. I've never wanted to do residential development. I don't know anything about that, but it's a crisis. It's part of my strat plan. How do we get more butts in seats? And it's a crisis that I have to solve. I mean, I could just sit back and be like, yeah, I can't control the enrollment. It is what it is. And then, oh, by the way, in 5 years, I'm going to have to let go of 7 teachers and eliminate 4 programs because we've lost 200 kids in the last 15 years. I'm not going to allow that to happen. My maintenance director said to me about 4 months ago when we were starting this whole thing, he's like, Dan, you do realize this project could sink you, right? And I said, yeah, but so could just sitting back and being lazy. And so you said it in the first, like, what has your workouts done for you? What have your just start, your when was the last time you did something new for the first time? I found myself doing that at work all the time now, and I think it's a byproduct of me starting and getting better a little bit better every single day. I know it sounds kind of kitsch, like be 1% better every day. I don't really buy into that. I'm just trying to wake up and, Dwayne Johnson, The Rock, said he wanted to wake up and wanted the devil to be scared when he woke up. I'm not eating cod every day like The Rock, and I'm not deadlifting 900 pounds or anything, but I am trying to be the best version of me that I can be to lead my family and to lead myself and to lead these people in this district. And dude, it's hard. Every day's hard, but I like doing hard things. And can I look back on where I was teaching and the hard now? Yeah, the hard now is, and this is no disrespect to teachers because that job is amazingly difficult as you welcome back into that world. Um,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
but my hard now is not even something I could have predicted 5 years ago. It's crazy to think of the things I've done even in the first 5 years of doing this. So it's a good hard though. I like it. But it's something, Saturday after I finished a long training camp in Indianapolis with some buddies, um, we went to a sauna and ice cold plunge therapy place in Indianapolis. Dude, I got rid of so much brain fog sitting in a sauna for 10 minutes, not saying a word, and then dunking in that 34-degree water. I felt so reinvigorated, and honestly, like, that's what I feel like after a workout, and I'm just ready to charge the day. And even this morning, Wednesdays are my run day, so I ran 5 miles on the treadmill. I didn't like it, and after 2 miles, I wanted to quit, but I'm there watching my Motiversity video, and it's challenging me to not give up on myself. And like I know, Joe, how you talk to yourself, man, we are our toughest critic, right? How I speak to myself while I'm running, telling myself, "Get off the treadmill. I'm done with this. It's so boring, so monotonous." But there's a reason I'm doing it, and the reason is, yeah, I wanna look good with my shirt off for sure. I wanna be confident in my own skin, but I also know that the byproducts of what I'm doing are making me better in every part of my life.
yeah. One, I love too that you say that. I think that's one of the reasons that, I'm it's been it's been a stressful couple weeks for me leading up to um some things. And I know for me one of my things is like sometimes I stress eat and do that. So, but I last summer was the first summer where I can remember having my shirt off at the pool and just kind of, reminding myself like no one cares.
Yeah. Isn't that the funny thing?
Right,
Nobody cares about that. You do, but nobody
right.
else does.
Nobody cares. But I also think it's cool, man, that us just talking about that, like how many guys just don't talk about that, but just
Absolutely.
have that feeling, right? And um, and how many guys are like, well, that's girls are supposed to feel that way, not guys. So I'm just not gonna say anything, or I'm gonna shove it down, or and then I think there's also, when I was doing some training the other day, and we talked about, I said, I think we've messed up professional development. Like we work on making our employees 5% better, professional trainings, and we don't work on making them better as a person. And, that idea that, I know for the anti-conference like for the stress leaders, work for your Substack, for your conference, all those things. it's about becoming better as a person, because the byproduct of being better as a person is that you get to be better in all aspects of life, rather than just being better as a leader, or better as a, teacher, or a iron worker, or a, you know, CPA, or a, whatever that may be. And um I know that that's, what Stress Leaders is about, right? It's not, you know, the best part is, I'm excited because I know going into it, we're not gonna sit and listen to how to manage a building budget, or how to, what best practices for X, Y, or Z, because I'll never forget, and we'll have him on here in a few months. A guy named Matt Zelasco. He's um, the runs the Radish agency, and one thing he told me when I was doing some consulting work was that nobody ever sells anything other than a relationship.
Bingo. Relationships over
And
everything.
nobody stays with anything for anything over a relationship, unless it's just, and obviously, unless it's just, a tangible thing. Like, I don't want a relationship with Jeff Bezos, but I'm still going to order stuff on Amazon. But it's that, we're selling relationships, and how hard it is to maintain and have those relationships when we're not taking care of us and doing that. And so, um, as we kind of come to an end, Dan, if there was anything that you could, you know, tell people who are in that area where maybe they're getting ready to just start, or they're, you know, whatever it is, they want to look good without their shirt on, or what that is, what would that, what, what would your encouragement to them be?
Joe, it's like, this phrase, I used to think it was overused, but then if you step back from the criticism of this phrase, it's really not. So, the remember your why. You hear it all the time. You hear it all the time. I've been blessed that I've done some PD that's exactly the opposite of what you're talking about. While I actually do enjoy creating a budget and a levy for my district, I know that you and other people do not. So what's my why? You talked about that sales piece in consulting. I got into education 22 years ago because I love people. When I was in college, I worked 3 jobs in college, and one of those jobs was I was a commissioned salesman at Circuit City, selling TVs, stereo systems, computers. I was amazing at that. Like, I was a commissioned salesman working part-time, making more money than the grown men who had been working there 20 years. And it was because I'm not afraid to go talk to anybody. I can go talk to anybody about whatever common interest, music, sports, politics, it doesn't matter. And I just like talking to people. I always have. I laugh because I see my 12-year-old son, who he is 10 times as funny as me, with so much better of a personality than me. But you know what he struggles with? He's a people pleaser. So he gives me a hard time because he's got a six pack. Well, he's 12. I'm like, come on, dude, you're 12. You should have one. But at the same time, creating relationships is what it's all about. I ask him, his name's Costner. I said, Cos, what do you think you want to do when you get older? He's like, well, I'm obviously going to play in the NBA. But after that, he's like, I think I just want to hang out with the players. You try to figure out your kids and like, what's their career and what are they going to do in life? And you just want to be happy and successful. But I think whether it's my 12-year-old son, or whether it's you, Joe, or whether it's somebody that comes to our Stressed Leaders Retreat, you have to find a reason to have a common ground with somebody. And then typically what I've discovered in my life is you can build a great friendship out of that very easily. But you're just genuine. And that's everything. Whether you're selling for consulting, whether I'm trying to get people to come to our retreat, whether I'm talking to a teacher who's upset about a decision that I made for our district. If we can just talk one-on-one, and I can look them in the eye, you know what I often find is that a lot of people, when you get into that deep, hard conversation, they'll show you their wounds. And I've got scars. I've got scars because I've healed a lot of my wounds. And when you care about somebody and you create a relationship, man, life's so much better. One of the things that a buddy of mine was doing with 75 Hard was he was going out and starting a random conversation with a stranger every single day. Have you ever tried that? That is so hard to start a random conversation that's actually genuine. I mean, we are in a society right now that is so not resilient and scared and weak, and everybody's got, they got, everybody's got like a layer that they're trying to protect, and that, it's like an onion. You peel back each layer, and sometimes it smells bad the harder you go and peel those back. But if you just create relationships, you can heal those wounds and turn them into scars very easily. And whether it's my retreat that we run that's amazing, or whether it's just being in my building, what would I say to somebody who's struggling, or yeah, just start, but that just start looks different for me and you. For me, it was weightlifting about 2 years ago that really changed things for me. I lost weight. I lost 100 pounds like 3.5 years ago, but I was doing good things. I was running a ton, but I didn't know my why. That phrase that gets overused a little bit in the education world, remember your why. I used to hear that and like, pump the brakes. I'm not doing that. And I'm too tough for that. But the more and more I dial it back, it's like that onion. I had to peel back the layers of that onion to realize that I got some wounds, and they're very real. And remembering my why was, man, I got a wife and 2 kids that mean everything to me. And if I'm not taking care of myself, I'm not helping them out. I'm not leading them the way they need to see me lead. And I'm just not walking my talk. I'm not walking my talk at home. I'm not walking my talk in the district. I'm not walking my talk with my friends. There was some tough things that happened to me that are very real wounds, and I've written about them on Substack. And one of those things I wrote about was my friend Bill. Bill was one of my most loyal friends, and I just got too busy in my career to really enjoy that friendship. And then he got cancer and died. And I didn't take the time to appreciate all the great things this man was doing for myself, for my family, for our friendship, until it was too late. And so you said it earlier in that talk with that salesman about consulting. If we don't have relationships, what the hell are we doing? Why are we doing what we do every single day? Why am I coming in and making that checklist and crossing things off if I'm not out there talking to the people that I care about? And that checklist, it's gonna be there every day, but you gotta go do the things that really matter.
And right, and I think we're made to do things in community, right? Like we're not made to do it in isolation. We're not made to do it alone. And that's what, so much of this is, you know, all of this stems from, right? And I think it's the idea too that, I know I agree with you, man, that like remember your why gets a bad rap. And I think it gets a bad rap because, we weaponized it a lot as leaders, for a long time. It was jump back to that where really it's not necessarily the weaponize, but so many people, it's just about, they got to figure out who they are and what their why even is to remember what that why is. Cause I know for me, it's like I got so far away from who I was and what my to really be able to say that this is my why rather than saying like this is the why.
Exactly.
And
That's
it's
powerful.
making that transition, right? And so, I hope that people that are listening can kind of hear your journey and hear kind of that walk and be able to kind of go like, all right, like what is that? And and hear that, like, it does. There is that light at the end of the tunnel, right? Is you kind of make that movement through that. And I love the Kara Lawson video. I'm sure you've seen it. She's the Duke women's
Yep, yep.
basketball coach. Talks about, easy bus never comes. You just when you do hard, you learn to do hard better. Life doesn't get easier. You just learn to do hard
Yep.
better.
Be
And,
better.
um, it's the idea that, I think we do that. So, one, Dan, like, I'm incredibly grateful that you spent some time with me this morning. And I know we're both on spring break this week. This is going to come out when we're both back in working, but both on spring break and able to kind of take some breaths here for a second, a little bit. But um if anybody wanted to reach out, one of the things that I am really proud of in this process is the people that come on. I know are people are that do believe in community, and in that, I know you talked about it as well, but in that abundance that, like, there's enough space for everybody to have their own brand, for everybody to have their own struggle, for everybody to have their own growth, for everybody to and to not have to do it alone. And so, um, we'll have some stuff in the bio, but um, if people were to look for you or reach out or want to follow your journey, or, kind of connect with you, where could they find you?
Yeah, well, there's a couple things you said there, Joe, and one, I love your brand one more time. I don't know if you noticed, but I even referenced that in my last Substack. That concept of, even if you've gotten knocked down on the mat, if you can just get up one more time. I mean, that's powerful. So, you talk about community. This job is
Mhm.
isolating. It's so hard. And out of that, I created this Stress Leaders community. So we've got a nice little app that I created on Telegram where we check in and we share our workouts and talk about the things with struggles in our jobs. And it's a nice outlet that's closed. That's right now there's like 4 or 5 guys in it that just kind of share their wins of the day. And it's good to see that. We do need community and there's not enough of it. So yeah, and then I'm excited. In about, I think about 6 weeks, my book, Stressed Leaders Journey, comes out from Road to Awesome Publishing. And I talk about doing hard things, about that relationship with Bill. You might laugh and think, oh, I would have thought your hard thing was a 2-year powerlifting journey. It's not. The hard thing was realizing that my why, I wasn't finding my why. My why was that relationship with Bill, and I didn't realize until it was too late. So we do need community. You're absolutely right. But you can find me all over the place. You can find me on LinkedIn. You can find me on Twitter. You can find me on Instagram. You can find me at Stress Leaders. You can find me June 23rd and 24th in Starve Rock, Illinois, having this retreat that's going to be amazing. We've got so many great things to offer at it for really any leader. We've got principals, superintendents. We've got small business owners. We've got entrepreneurs. We've got realtors. We've got just a bunch of different people. Some college coaches coming that are just looking for ways to get better and ways to feel supported. And what we're doing, that leadership is hard. It's a hard thing. And you just, like I said, with your brand, get up off the mat one more time. Keep getting better one more time.
Yep. Well, hey, I appreciate it, man. And one, I appreciate the love on that. It's it stems from a video. I talked about it, on mine. It stems from that video of my dad, just tossing the ball. And it was just a joke for a long time in our family of like, hey, just one more time, dude, one more time, one more time. But has kind of just turned into kind of a mantra for life of just got to do it one more time.
I love it. I love it.
So, hey, I appreciate you spending time, man. I hope that this resonates with people out there that are listening. And we'll post some information, and there's some stuff in the bio for anybody that wants to check out Stress Leaders, that wants to check out follow Dan and the journey that he's on. But again, that this is here so that we can hopefully help everybody feel a little bit less alone, so that we can kind of rewrite that narrative that everybody's story matters. And if we believe that other people's stories matter, then by proxy we have to believe that our own stories matter.
Well done.
And so, I love that you were willing to share your story and share that out, and I'm incredibly appreciative of that. And I look forward, and I'll be at Stress Leaders here in a few weeks, and can't wait to take that journey there as well with you, and continue to connect. And I hope today, for anyone that's listening, that you're able to walk away and just remember that those hard times, those struggles, those times where you're in that messy middle, that there's light, and that as you kind of make that journey, that there's things that as you grow as a person, as you grow as a leader, as you grow as a realtor, as you grow in whatever you're doing, that it's not 1% better as a human, but it's whether you take the Martin Luther King, whether if you can run, then run, if you can walk, then walk, if you can crawl, then crawl, but whatever you do, just keep moving forward. And so hopefully that was one of the big takeaways I had today, is just keep moving forward, because if you do that, I love, for those that aren't, they're listening, not watching, it's just a smile on your face, man. Being able to see that and the joy of where you're at and what you're doing right now. So appreciate you being on in this time, and look forward to continuing to connect as we move forward.
Love it, Joe. Thanks for having me on. It's been a lot of fun just talking to you, and love that our relationship's growing as well. And can't wait to listen to this when it comes out, and can't wait to see you and everybody else at our Stress Leaders Retreat.
Yep, I appreciate it, Dan, and for everybody that's out there, as you're listening, you're not alone. Your story matters. Where you are at, who you are, is more than enough right now. Appreciate you taking this journey with me. I'm Joe Mulligan. Thank Dan Stecken for joining us, and this is Life Mentored.